Hi, I'm Kirsty and welcome to my latest video. I was guided to come on and talk about my animal communication work. I was inspired to share my story with you, that everybody's story is their own. It's all an individual path that we walk, but the way that I work with animals is most likely very different from the way other people work with animals. And as I say, I was guided to come on and share my story, where I started with the animals and where it has led me. I would say the beginning of my animal work started with my horse, Blake. He unfortunately passed to spirit last year, but I had the pleasure of sharing his life for 14 years. And right from the start, we had that soulmate connection. I just knew from the moment I saw him, we had a soulmate connection, and that never wavered throughout the years. The bond between us just got stronger, but I always felt that I could communicate with him. I just didn't know how. And there was only one moment in the early years that I felt I connected with him. He'd gone through a trauma out in the field with some new horses that had been put in and had been injured. And I managed to, in my desire to help him, I managed to connect to him. Didn't know how, but managed to connect to him and made a completely irrational decision for him that turned out to be the best thing for him. And I did that based on my emotions and based on my heart and what I felt. So, and then it wasn't until, I would say, another couple of years later before I had the pleasure of meeting Jane Hunt, who is an amazing animal communicator and healer. And as soon as I met her, I knew that this was the person that I wanted to train with. I didn't even know up until that point that animal communicators existed. So my training began with Jane, and then for the next couple of years after that, I worked with horses, dogs and cats, and just those domestic creatures, nothing outside of that, and had a wonderful time exploring the animal communication world and building up my trust in myself and my confidence in knowing what I was getting from the animals was correct. This again changed when a few years ago I was introduced, no, it was only last year, actually, I stand corrected, I was introduced to Madeline Walker. And Spirit introduced me to her via her books. And as soon as I picked up her first book, I was hooked. I was fascinated by her story and by how she works with animals. And I was guided to actually have an online session with her and get to find out a little bit more about how she worked. And during that first session, she happened to say, a lion has come forward and wants to communicate with you. So didn't think anything of it at the time. And I remember thinking, why is the lion wanting to speak to me? He's got Madeline there. Why is he not speaking to her? But as forever, when you work with spirit, you have to just trust and you have to be guided by what it is and just know that it's for the best outcome. So I didn't know exactly how to do it, but thought I'll tune in, see if I can get this lion. As it happened, it was a gorgeous lioness that had come forward, and she was wanting, she had had a lot of trauma in her life. She was in captivity, and we went through a lot of the anguish and the pain that she had gone through while being in captivity. And really, basically, she wanted my help in assisting her to die. And that may sound very dramatic, but it was, and I've had a lot of animals that have come through since that point with the same issue. And I feel that it's the healing that I provide for them of letting go of a lot of the emotions that they have gone through and are holding on to in this lifetime. that I have a way that can release that and allow them to let go of it, to then assist them that they can then move forward into spirit freer and a lot happier and a lot more at peace and a lot at calm. So without really knowing what I was doing with this lioness, I helped her in the best way that I can or could, and then she returned to me. I would say it was probably about a week later, so grateful and so pleased and thankful for what I had done for her. And I just thought that was a one-off incident, so was very pleased with the work that I had done and felt that I had really assisted her. And she showed up quite a few times over the past 18 months, 2 years since I began this, which is lovely to see that how she is progressing over in spirit. And it wasn't until like a few weeks after that incident, I happened to be in my room, or this room, where I do majority of my work, and suddenly noticed there was a polar bear in the corner. Freaked me out a bit. Can't really say that when you're just sitting there and then a polar bear turns up, but it did. So it made me realise, and I had a chat with him, that there was maybe a pattern going on. There was a theme. So I made that decision that this was happening for a reason, and I should just embrace it rather than being freaked out by it, but just embrace what was happening and make the time every day to do this work, just to open up and to see who showed up. Well, that just opened the gateways to everything. So since then, whenever I open up and just ask what animals want to come through, there is just a queue. Now, as far as the eye can see, the word has got out and they just queue up and waiting for, and I tend to do a few a day because, again, with working with spirit, you need to have boundaries in place. You can't just be open all the time to do this work. You are here in a physical body to be able to live life on this planet. And so, but I did make that decision and that intention to set a time, or set a certain amount of time every day to dedicate to these animals. And the appreciation that they have had of me doing this work is just amazing. Whenever they come through with all their overwhelming thanks and gratefulness, it just brings me to tears. Just the emotion that they carry of how they are just so overwhelmed with me giving that time and dedicating it to them. And it has been an amazing ride that still continues. The way that I connect when I have a particular process, also a couple of years ago, I realised I had wolves showing up all the time, and I realised they were there to work with me. So there's this pack of wolves that I work with. The main communicator on those wolves is Sky, who is my beta wolf. She is the one that looks after the pack when I am not around. And it wasn't until probably about a year ago that I discovered that, because I just assumed that they were in the ether, they had a pack of wolves that had passed over, but they were actually a pack of wolves that exist in another dimension. So they are alive, just not in this dimension that we are currently in, but they exist in another dimension. Freaked me out a lot, again at the time, of very struggling to get my head around about the fact that they were alive, they're living in another dimension. But it's amazing what freaks you out to start with, then suddenly a little while later becomes normal and becomes your reality. With all the multi-dimensional travel that I have done in between that time and now, the fact that I have a pack of wolves in another dimension, not an issue to me. It's just something that you accept and realise that's just what it is. And a lot of the time in the work that you do with spirit, it is about trusting and just accepting and just knowing what is. You maybe can't explain things, but you just know that they're real. And the other people that I work with my animal stuff are my two kittens, Sabrina and Phoenix. I introduced them on my website as they came into my life back in July last year, and they are from Arcturus, the same as myself, and they are here to help me with this work and to help me with my animal healing and the communication. So before I sit down to do any work with the animals that come in, I immediately connect to them, and I just visualize the two of them. We connect as a triangle, and this is how we then go forward with our work. I connect with them, I connect with my wolves. I then ask whoever is of greatest need to step forward that needs some healing work. And as I've had a myriad of animals that have come through. I have a lot of orcas, whales, dolphins. I have a lot of cats, panthers, tigers, lions, hippo. That's was a novel one. I've had like polar bears, brown bears, grizzly bears. I've had like little animals, like I've had badgers. I think there's just been so many different varieties of animals that have come. I think one of the ones that probably stick in my memory the most, because it freaked me out the most, was when a tarantula came through. To anybody that knows me, I am not good with spiders. I have tried to overcome a lot of my fear, my irrational fear to do with spiders over the years, and I am a lot better. And it is a testament to how far that I have come as to earlier this year when a tarantula came through. And I couldn't have it close. It kept on trying to run towards me, and we came to an understanding that if you would like me to help you, you're going to have to stay over the other side of the room. And he was quite happy with that. In the end, we got the message, and I was so proud of myself that I was actually able to help him, communicate with him, and help heal him, and without letting my fear get the better of me. And he was a tarantula that was kept in captivity in just a private home, but in his container, the person that kept him wasn't or didn't appear to be familiar with the kind of environment that a tarantula needs to be in. I wasn't either, but my friend there filled me in on the details. They have to be kept at a certain temperature. So with the healing work, and he wasn't able to function properly with all his web and stuff like that with on the insides of the tarantula. It was all very new to me. Don't know anything about spiders really, but I was able to help him what was wrong, and to be able to govern his temperature, to be able to regulate it better, to provide some healing to do that, which would enable to live in this environment, because he still wanted to continue being with this person and sharing his life with him. So that was, I would say, probably the freakiest experience that I've had. But it had been amazing. I get a lot of animals that come through that are in captivity, and a lot of them with emotional problems because of that captivity. And it's about helping them to be able to release a lot of that and to find ways in which they can adapt to it. I always give them a choice. Do you want to continue with your life on this planet, on wherever that they are? I never ask what location or anything, that they are not given that detail, and it's not necessary for me to be able to help them. So I always give them that choice, because they come to me for a particular, they know what they want. They know whether they just can't take anymore, and they want to pass over, and they want that healing and that release work that I talked about earlier to enable them to pass over in the best possible way for their soul's progress. And some of them, they want to heal, they want to be able to have new ways of being, to enable them to cope with being in captivity, because they recognise that their soul's mission has not been completed. They came to this life with a mission and with a purpose, the same as what we all do. And if they haven't completed that, and they haven't sufficiently feel that they have achieved what they set out to achieve, then they want to go back to that, but they require some healing in the meantime to enable them to do that, and this is what I provide. I also have a lot that come through with physical injuries. A lot of these are animals that are in the wild, and they have been injured through various means, either by other animals, by man, and I'm able to provide healing work that enables them to carry on with their life in the wild. So I find this work absolutely amazing and absolutely inspiring, and it has taken me quite a while to get my head round that this is actually happening and this is my reality, because it really made me question my sanity when it first started happening, as I think it probably would most people. And it has taken a while for me to be able to share what it is I do. It was something that I did just between me and the animals, and to be able to share this with all of you today is just a huge step in my growth and in my path, and in, I suppose, owning my truth and owning what's right for me, and knowing that this is true and this is correct for my life. And I just get so much joy out of the work that I do with the animals, and I am so grateful that they have chosen me, along with many others, but have chosen me to entrust a lot of their healing and emotional issues, and trust me to help them through whatever they need their help with. So I hope you enjoyed me sharing my story of how I talk to the animals in my own unique way. And I hope that you can maybe take something from this, in not necessarily in your path maybe with animals, but maybe in the wider thing of your path in your life. And sometimes it's taking that next step and taking that leap and having that confidence to be able to share maybe what's in your inner heart that you feel that you will be judged for, you feel that is not normal, it's not what everybody else does. And sometimes it's recognizing that we're all unique, we're all on our own path, and we have to just follow that, and we have to be open to sharing it with others, because our story may resonate with other people and give them the courage to take that next step forward for them. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Much love. Bye bye.